Hey, everybody, welcome to the VIP Financial Education YouTube channel. We help you go further, faster financially. We teach you all the things that banks don't want you to know. And that's surrounding your cash flow. That is how to keep as much of your money every month as possible. The only two ways to do that is to make more money and spend less money. And we think optimizing both sides of that balance sheet is really important for you. So what we do is we offer some one-on-one time with me where we can evaluate your circumstances and your objectives, both short and long term, and see, hey, are there other ways that you could be approaching things? Are there answers to the questions you've maybe had for some time? And just really start to build out a bit of a roadmap and some next steps for you. If you'd like to take advantage of one of those calls, check the description for the link, get on the calendar. They go quickly, they're scarce. Obviously, it takes a lot of my time, but we're going to get into one of those here today. Let's jump right in.
So amongst the people that you have seen be successful, whether it's students that you have, people that you've worked with just throughout the years, what do you think are some of the key traits or attributes that really set them apart in being successful from the rest of the field?
That's a great question. What do you think my answer is going to be?
Those who are willing to put in the hours, the hard work.
Bingo. It's consistency. It's just waking up and being consistent. If we're focusing on business models that have a pre-existing roadmap, and I have all the resources at my disposal to uncover exactly what that map is, the difference between somebody else making their way to that treasure and me is one step at a time. And it's incredible to me how far you can come if you're consistent for 6 months to a year. And doing so with relatively easy baby steps along the way. Most of the things I check off of my list throughout the day were easy. Even the stuff that I tend to sort of dread for one reason or another. Things that I wake up, I'm like, oh man, I got to go do that. And then I get it done. I'm like, well, that actually really wasn't all that bad, right? It's just normally it's sitting at a computer. So anything that you're sitting at a computer doing, we probably shouldn't complain a whole lot about, right? If it's not leaving heavy blisters on my hands, if I'm not getting a 3rd-degree sunburn, like Bill Burr likes to say, when he was a roofer, he always likes to make fun of Oprah calling motherhood the most difficult job on the planet. And he says, oh, yeah, have you ever tried to be a redhead roofing in July? This is not a difficult job. Yeah. The things that we do when we're trying to build businesses from home. I personally try to build businesses that I personally can operate from home. Some of those businesses require me to have partners that are willing to be the ones that have to get in the car and go from point A to point B. And I have a business partner that literally gets human feces on him all day, every day, because I own a sewer business and I'm a 50% owner in that business. But I'm wearing a white shirt that's clean. And I guarantee you, he's wearing a Carhartt sweatshirt right now, freezing his butt off in frigid temperatures, figuring out how to unclog somebody's drain right now. So I have managed to put myself in the role that I would personally prefer to be in. Now, if you were to ask him, he would be just as thrilled about this partnership as I am, because he needed me as much as I needed him to make this deal work.
Yeah.
So for us, it's about, it boils down to what I call the 3 C's of banking and borrowing. The first is maximizing your credit. You've got to have a strong credit score. And this is why if you really start to go through my videos on the channel, you're going to find me talking about credit. And it's one of the things I studied when I was really early in my career, because I started recognizing just how valuable it was to people that were coming to me for loans. Mm-hmm. And start thinking, man, this was never taught to me in school.
Right.
Luckily, the education about credit has become extremely popular. So it's everywhere today. Still surprises me how many people don't know a lot about it, but maximize your credit scores as much as you possibly can so that you can access capital. The money that I used to invest in that sewer business was not my own. It was money that I borrowed. And I borrowed a total of $50,000 to get involved in that deal. Now, of that $50,000 I borrowed, the agreement I had with my business partner was that $40,000 of it was going to be a promissory note and would be repaid by the business. Technically, my seed capital investment then was only 10.
Wow.
And from the first year on, my base distribution as a member of that company is $6,000 a month.
Wow. So you made your investment back pretty quickly.
No kidding. No kidding. And even if I didn't, the minimum payment on that investment was relatively low, right? So even if I were just paying the minimums, including the interest costs associated with it, it would have been a no-brainer. And you compare that to real estate, whereby if I wanted to get out there and purchase a property, if I were to even save up my 20 to 25% down payment, which of course at this point often exceeds six figures, if you want to buy anything above $500,000 purchase price, plus the cost of closing on top of that, which is usually another 2 to 3%. So you're at another $10,000 to $15,000 worth of cost to close.
Right.
I'd still be left with a $400,000 loan. And I wouldn't come anywhere near $6,000. Now, I might take out a gross $6,000 worth of revenue if it's a short-term rental.
Yeah.
But to turn around and rent out a $500,000 property for $6,000 a month with a long-term tenant, that'd be a grand slam. That's very unlikely unless it's a multi-unit property. And it's hard to find multi-unit properties in that price range these days. So just keep in mind that for this deal is just it's an absolute freaking gold mine compared to what I could do in the real estate market. But it all boiled down to having the credit and getting access to the capital so that I could then invest into the cash flow. And that's the third C in that equation, right? Credit, capital, cash flow.
That's really smart.
Here's the thing, on the back end of that, I hate debt. So there's this big conversation, of course, between good debt and bad, right? It's all about, well, good debt is, money you're leveraging to make you money. Obviously, I support leverage while also hating debt. So in a sense, you could say I like good debt and don't like bad debt. But the difference between me and other people is that I'm going to turn around and pay that debt off, even if it's good, as quickly as I can, unless it's at 0%.
Yeah.
And if it's at 0%, it's free. And I will generally allow that money to service and pay only the minimums until just before I'm required to pay it, at which point I'm going to pay it off. If that means a 0% promotional period on a credit card, I'm usually going to pay it off the month or two before, just even if it's a little early, even if it's a little earlier than necessary, in order to avoid making any mistakes or something slipping through, just some weird technological glitch or something happening where that credit card company or issuer is now excited about retroactively charging me all the interest for the promotional period, which is what they're hoping for. So yeah, I'm the type of person that tries to blend the Dave Ramsey concepts with the Robert Kiyosaki concepts. And I personally like both ideas and philosophies, but I think both are slightly flawed for my own taste.
Right. And I would imagine everyone's kind of got their own take on that.
Absolutely. The thing that you cannot dispute, I mean, there are certain facts, certain absolutes. One absolute is debt is dangerous. Debt's the risk. Go into any situation from the last downturn and analyze, where Dave Ramsey has it right is nobody files bankruptcy with no debt. Nobody. It's going to be extremely hard to find examples of people who had no mortgage on their home who ended up foreclosing. There are probably some anomalies out there where you've got some tax issues, or you've got liens. But if you have your house paid off, it's really unlikely you're going to ever be foreclosed on. So we have to agree that debt is a risk. Debt is the threat. And if you are not conscious about that, and you're just out there borrowing every which way you can because you're speculating on margins between what you can earn and what it's costing you, and anything works out worse than anticipated, it can throw the whole thing into a tailspin, and you'll be sitting across the bankruptcy attorneys. It's just not worth it. So that's why I always manage debt very carefully, very aggressively. I pay it off as fast as I can, but I'm certainly not afraid to use it when these types of opportunities come up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, everybody, what do you think? That's Patrick. Patrick, what a nice guy, man. I cannot believe how much he looks like one of my good friends. It's just weird. It almost felt like I was having a conversation with him, which was kind of tripping me out. I was actually fumbling over my words a bit because I honestly felt it was just bizarre. It was like his doppelganger. Anyway, that guy has so much opportunity in front of him. Clearly very sharp. Clearly asking a ton of questions, which means he really is a good student. He mentioned that in the beginning. I'm a sponge. That's critical if you want to succeed out there, guys. You've got to be out there wanting to learn in order to improve. He's seemingly willing to put in the work as well. And that's the answer to his primary question is, what are some of the attributes of people that you see consistently having success? And when I turned that question back around to him to answer, he said, people willing to do the hard work. And luckily, my response also included that most of this stuff ain't that hard. It's not hard to figure it out. It just takes time. It takes commitment. And one quote that I always love, and I'll probably butcher, is probably not verbatim, but it's something along the lines of, people significantly overestimate what they can accomplish in a year, but significantly underestimate what they can accomplish in 5. That is so true with absolutely everything. And the reality of it is, I think if you're consistent, you'll still be shocked about how much you can achieve in just 1 year's time. So get out there, be good to yourself by being consistent. If you really want this stuff, if you really want a better life, if you want to live life on your own terms, if you want the type of outcome that I've managed to, I'm just so privileged to have achieved geographical freedom and being able to do what I want when I want to, then it is going to require that consistent effort. And it really does all start with that level of dedication. So we do appreciate you here on the channel, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, keep on cash flowing. Take care.